I would like to ask the Minister for Education, Sport and Culture whether the Department has considered banning mobile phones from school premises.
Following the Minister for Education, Sport and Culture, Mr Cragin, to reply.
Thank you, Mr President. Given that the management of mobile phones is best undertaken at school level, the Department delegates individual policy on this to schools. However, in making such decisions, the schools have to balance the potential dangers and disruption of such technology in lessons, along with the possible benefits of using internet-accessible devices to encourage the development of skills and the abilities of pupils needed in the 21st century workplace. After some informal comments from parents, Castle Rushen High School is currently seeking the views of governors, teachers, parents and pupils about the idea of mobile-free Key Stage 3. This, of course, does not mean an automatic ban will be implemented. Rather, the views of important members of the community are being sought.
Supplementary, Mr Moorhouse.
Thank you, Mr President, and thank you, Minister, for that encouraging, if not mixed answer. Over the weekend, I did something I don't normally do. I looked at Facebook and followed a thread, and I was quite shocked about how people got so actively involved in this issue. And I stopped and I saw a post from Thomas. He's a sixth form student, bright and articulate, a high-achieving young man. And he wrote, "I can tell you the benefits really don't outweigh the drawbacks. They are such a source of distraction. And no, there is very little they are used for as educational tools." Could the Minister comment on such a clear and articulate statement?
Reply, sir.
Sorry, Mr President, I haven't read it. I can only take it from the member. I too don't do much on social media, but from people that I've spoken to have said that the debate on Facebook has been mixed. This is why the decision is down to the schools. They're very close, as the honourable member who used to be a teacher will know, that they are at the coalface working with the children, and they are the best people to advise on how to use that technology.
Deputy Speaker, Mr Robert Shaw.
Thank you, Mr President. Does the Minister perhaps agree with me that the word banning phones in school is a slightly old-fashioned phrase, that actually the children are accessing devices, that those devices give the children incredibly large access to a massive amount of information, bigger than any possible library that may exist in any school? And would he agree with me that it's terribly important that teachers have the opportunity to encourage and educate their children to use those devices to maximum opportunity?
Reply, sir.
Thank you, Mr President. I couldn't have said it any better. Mr President, the teachers are there. They have the ability in the classrooms to actually direct whether people are using their devices inappropriately. Now, this is a modern technology, modern if we go back 15 years, but I think it's a way that people use it. We do have an e-safety programme there, so I am aware that they've banned it in France, but there is issues with that because the issue comes with confiscating somebody's personal device. And when you have after-school clubs and other activities that young people go to, it's about the sensible use of those devices at the appropriate time.
Honourable Member for Onken, Miss Edge.
Thank you, Mr President. The Minister mentioned a copy of a delegated policy which goes out to the schools. Would the Minister circulate that to members so that we can understand? You said that it's dealt with at school level, but the Department sends a delegated policy out. So if you could circulate that, I'd appreciate it. And just with regards to the Honourable Deputy Speaker today, with regards to innovation, the mobile phones can be used in the school setting. However, does the Minister not agree that sometimes the systems within schools block the effective use of using technology for the students within the classrooms? And also, is the Minister aware that the majority of school systems, the students can use their mobile phones to pay for things within the school setting if the IT was in the right position for them to do that? And I think it is a resource that could be utilised that would perhaps help with the costs within schools rather than trying to provide electronic devices to every student. the department could make use of these devices to help with the innovation and to help the children with their education.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first part I said it was delegated to the schools. I hadn't said that we'd send a piece out, but it was delegated to the schools. As regards the IT in the schools, I think all honourable members in this court have iPads, access to social media, messaging, Facebook. So is the honourable member asking questions saying that we should ban all devices, because a phone is just a device, not the honourable member for Onken, just to make that clear. But I think, you know, it's not just about mobile phones. You could take the mobile phones off people, but they would still have access to the internet. So for messaging and stuff like that, they will still have access. I would hope that children are not answering the phone during lessons. And that's where I was saying that the teachers should have that power to be able to deal with that. I will investigate the possible inadequacies of the Wi-Fi connection in the schools.
Supplementary, Mr. Moorhouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. These devices are status symbols, and in environments where we're encouraging people to wear a uniform and all be seen as equal, we need to consider the wider implications. Many of them operate outside the school networks, and they make bullying worse. This week I've spoken to several tearful mothers. This is an issue. What value does the Minister place on safeguarding? Does he believe that unregulated internet access is compatible with our role as guardians of the children during school hours?
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's really interesting that a member who used to be a teacher is now looking to ban all internet from the schools. It doesn't matter whether you've got a computer, a mobile device, an iPad, it's access to the internet. So you could ban those devices and they can still go and bring in a legitimate laptop. It is a device to access the internet. All schools have policies to deal with inappropriate behaviour on the internet. The issue you would have if by banning all internet devices from schools is, unfortunately, as the Chief Minister said about earlier on, you would have that problem outside school. And that's where the parents have to be part of this as well.
Honourable Member for Douglas East, Ms Bettison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the Minister agree with me that this is about striking a balance? I certainly had a phone myself when I was at school, and that was about telling my parents if I was going to be late home. And I agree absolutely with the Deputy Speaker's discussion about the access to those resources that really are valuable for children. But could he provide some reassurance that there is fair access for those who maybe can't afford phones or whose family aren't able to access them for whatever reason, that there are alternatives available at every school should that be the case and they do need that resource in their classes?
Reply, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank the member for the question. Yes, you know, the schools do have computers, they do have access across those areas, so I'd hope that is sufficient for those people to access it. And quite frankly, I don't think it just comes down to mobile phones, if you're saying about how people can afford. I can remember a number of years ago, people were saying about night trainers, whether you had the right trainers. People in America were getting mugged for their trainers because it was a status symbol. So unfortunately, society as it is about having the latest device.
Take two more supplementary questions. First, Miss Edge.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the Minister not agree that, and I know he stated this with regards to teachers have control of their class and the class group in front of them? There was an innovation a couple of years ago where the teachers, somebody designed, built a depositing mechanism for the students when they walked in the class to put their iPhones in so that they were easily identifiable and they could take them away. Is there not options within our schools that perhaps the department could support the teachers and produce something that can make it so that mobile phones can be taken at the start of lessons if they're not needed within the lesson, and that the teachers feel secure that there will be no comeback on them if a student's phone goes missing?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think there is an issue about if a phone does go missing, who is actually responsible for it. You know, and that would have to be something that would be looked at. As in providing a safe place for these phones to be put in if you go into class, it's then deciding when those devices are being used appropriately and in which lessons. There's plenty of things that the department can take away from these questions to review, and I do thank you for those questions.
Final supplementary, Mr Moorhouse.
Thank you, Mr President, and thank you, Minister, for this input. A massive amount has been invested in school technology in recent years. Does the Minister really believe the suggestion that mobile phones are required to facilitate active learning? I was recently told by a group of teachers that they've been advised that students should be told, turn your phone over and you can access it in 10 minutes' time. I was quite horrified by this because in a teaching environment, you can't have 10-minute restrictions placed on only by a mobile phone. I checked that with the head and it's true. And I think we're moving down...
This is not a debate. I don't want a speech. Just
right, I feel we're moving down this situation so fast that I would appreciate if the Minister would actually look at this situation and actively consult, not just today with teachers and head teachers, but going forward, because it is a moving issue.
Reply, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I said before, this is an issue for the individual schools. They are at the coalface, they're talking to the teachers on a daily basis. If there are those sorts of issues, surely they should be talking, you know, the teachers should be talking to the senior leadership team, the head teachers, to advise them of those issues. You know, Mr. President, the department's not going to be going around every school saying we're going to take these phones off people. You know, what we need to do is leave these powers delegated to the schools. Otherwise, we will be getting accused of actually being involved in the day-to-day management of schools. Teachers are there to take control off the classes, and that's what the job is.